The hip-hop world woke up this morning to a headline that sounds so insane, so unbelievable that people are still asking, did this really just happen? Because according to multiple insiders swirling around the industry right now, King Harris may have quietly reached out with a desperate message to the one man he's been publicly attacking for weeks. 50 Cent and the message? Stop the leaks. Stop the documentary. Before it destroys everything. Yes. You heard that right. After weeks of diss tracks, social media warfare, FBI document drops, and one of the messiest family beefs hip-hop has seen in years. Rumors are now exploding across the internet that the Harris camp might be panicking behind the scenes, because the documentary that 50 Cent is allegedly preparing could reopen some of the darkest allegations ever tied to T.I. and Tiny Harris, and if even half of what insiders claim ends up on camera, this isn't just another rap beef. This could be career-ending. So, what exactly is in this mysterious documentary that has the Harris family suddenly going quiet? Why are industry insiders whispering that 50 Cent has been collecting receipts for years? And did King Harris really try to shut the whole thing down before the first episode even leaks? Because if these reports are true, the story is about to get a whole lot darker. The story really starts long before anyone was whispering about documentaries, leaked footage, or desperate late-night phone calls. Long before people were asking whether King Harris was privately trying to convince 50 Cent to hit pause before the internet exploded all over again. To understand how things reached this point, you have to go back to a moment when the entire hip-hop world was bored, locked indoors, and glued to their phones during the pandemic era. That was when versus battles were dominating the culture. Two artists sitting across from each other, hit for hit, song for song, bragging rights on the line while millions of viewers watched in real time. Some of the biggest legends in music stepped into that ring, and eventually the question started circulating online. What would happen if T.I. faced 50 Cent? At first it sounded like harmless fan speculation, but then T.I. himself began pushing the idea publicly. The Atlanta rapper started mentioning the possibility during interviews and social media posts. According to him, it was simple. Bring 20 records, sit across from each other. Let the music speak. But when people looked toward 50 Cent for a response, they were met with something very different from what they expected. Silence, not excitement, not interest. Just silence. And if you know anything about 50 Cent, you know silence is never really silence. It usually means something else is coming. Years passed. The versus conversation faded. The pandemic ended. Fans moved on to new drama, new music, new headlines. It seemed like the challenge had simply died out like so many internet debates do. But behind the scenes, according to insiders, the tension never really disappeared. Then suddenly in early 2026, T.I. decided to bring it up again. During a podcast appearance that quickly started circulating across social media, T.I. once again mentioned the idea of facing 50 Cent in a versus battle. This time he didn't just suggest it. He doubled down. He claimed that 50 didn't want the smoke. He said the challenge had been sitting there for years. That clip spread across hip-hop Twitter, Instagram, and every gossip page within hours. And when it reached 50 Cent, the reaction was exactly what people should have expected. He didn't respond with a song. He didn't accept the challenge. Instead, he went straight for something far more personal. Within hours, 50 Cent posted a clip referencing T.I.'s past legal situation and hinted that the Atlanta had cooperated with authorities years earlier. In hip-hop culture, there are few accusations more damaging than that one word. Snitch. That single post turned what could have been a friendly, musical competition into a full-blown personal war. Suddenly the conversation wasn't about hits anymore. It wasn't about catalog strength or stage presence. It was about reputation, loyalty, and credibility in a culture where those things mean everything. I fired back quickly, insisting the claims were nonsense and accusing 50 Cent of playing games online instead of stepping into the ring musically. What started as a debate turned into a back and forth that dominated social media for days. Fans chose sides. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds. Every new post from either rapper triggered another wave of reactions, but then something happened that pushed the entire situation into completely new territory. Family got involved after 50 Cent posted an unflattering image of Tiny Harris with a caption warning T.I. to keep his name out of his mouth. The situation escalated overnight because someone else saw the post. King Harris, the son of T.I. and Tiny, had grown up in the spotlight thanks to reality television and his parents' fame. But this was different. This was a direct shot at his mother, and according to people close to the family, he wasn't about to stay quiet. King jumped onto social media and started firing back. At first it was just words, posts, comments, the usual online back and forth that happens in celebrity feuds. But it didn't stay that way for long. Within days, King Harris was going live, ranting about 50 Cent, bringing up old controversies from the New York rappers past and accusing him of hiding behind memes instead of addressing things directly. Then came the moment that many people say changed everything. King appeared in a video wearing a shirt featuring the face of 50 Cent's late mother. The image spread across the internet almost instantly. Some fans thought it was disrespectful beyond repair. Others saw it as part of the ruthless culture of rap beef, but even people who normally enjoy hip-hop drama started saying the same thing. This had gone too far. The situation exploded again when King Harris dropped a diss track aimed directly at 50 Cent. Not long after that, T.I. himself entered the booth and released his own series of diss records. Within a matter of weeks, the Harris camp had stacked multiple songs attacking 50 Cent from every possible angle. And what did 50 Cent do in response? Nothing. At least not musically. Instead of answering with his own diss track, he continued doing what he does better than almost anyone else in entertainment. He trolled Italy. Memes appeared. Cryptic captions. Screenshots that hinted at things without fully explaining them. Posts that would appear for a few hours and then mysteriously disappear for fans watching the situation unfold. It felt like two completely different strategies playing out at the same time. T.I. and his sons were fighting a traditional rap battle, releasing songs and speaking publicly. 50 Cent, on the other hand, seemed to be playing a completely different game. Then came the next twist. King Harris posted what he claimed were federal documents suggesting that 50 Cent himself had cooperated with investigators years earlier during a criminal investigation. The screenshots spread across the internet in minutes. The implication was obvious. If true, it would flip the entire snitch narrative upside down, but whether the documents were authentic or not almost didn't matter anymore. The damage had already been done. Every hip-hop blog picked up the story. Fans debated the authenticity. Some believed it instantly. Others called it fake. Meanwhile, the feud kept getting louder. By this point, the Harris family had released multiple diss tracks. King Harris had gone viral for his social media attacks, and 50 Cent had continued responding with memes and trolling instead of music. But while all of that chaos was happening publicly, something else was quietly developing in the background, something that most fans didn't notice until it was almost too late, because according to multiple sources in the entertainment industry, 50 Cent wasn't interested in winning a rap battle. He was building something much bigger, and the first hint appeared in a now deleted social media post that immediately sent shockwaves through the hip-hop world. In that post, 50 Cent shared a screenshot of a headline suggesting he was developing a documentary centered around the allegations that had followed T.I. and Tiny Harris for years. The title floating around industry circles was chilling. Surviving T.I. and then Tiny. The name alone was enough to make people pause. It echoed the format used in previous high-profile documentary series that had exposed disturbing allegations against powerful figures in entertainment. Almost instantly, the internet exploded again. Was this real? Was 50 Cent actually preparing a documentary about the Harris family? Or was it just another elaborate troll designed to keep the feud alive? At first, nobody could tell, but then insiders started talking. People connected to streaming platforms whispered that early conversations had taken place. Others claimed production companies had already been approached. Some even suggested interviews with alleged victims had quietly been recorded months earlier. None of it was confirmed, but the rumors were enough to change the entire tone of the feud, because a diss track fades away after a few weeks. A meme disappears when the next trend arrives. A documentary, however, lives forever on streaming platforms. And if the allegations being discussed in those rumors ever reached millions of viewers, the consequences could be devastating. Suddenly, the story wasn't just about rap beef anymore. It was about reputation, legacy, and a potential media storm that could follow the Harris family for years. Around the same time these rumors began circulating, something else started happening that fans couldn't ignore. King Harris, who had been one of the loudest voices in the feud, suddenly became much quieter online. The same person who had been dropping diss tracks, posting documents, and going live almost daily seemed to disappear from the conversation. And that silence is what led to the rumors that are now spreading across the internet. Rumors that behind closed doors, someone from the Harris camp may have reached out with a message that sounded very different from the public bravado fans had been seeing. A message asking for the leaks to stop. A message asking for the documentary to be reconsidered. A message that suggested the situation might be far more serious than anyone realized. But if that message really was sent, it may have arrived too late, because according to people watching this drama closely, 50 Cent had already moved past the stage of simple internet trolling. He was building something bigger, something more permanent. And if even half of what insiders claim ends up on camera, the Harris family could soon find themselves facing a storm unlike anything they've dealt with before. And the most shocking part is that the feud, the insults, the diss tracks, and the online chaos may have only been the opening act, because what was coming next had the potential to turn a messy rap beef into one of the most explosive media battles hip-hop has seen in years. And it all started with a quiet rumor circulating behind the scenes that 50 Cent had been collecting receipts long before this feud ever went public. And it all started with a quiet rumor circulating behind the scenes that 50 Cent had been collecting receipts long before this feud ever went public. At first, most people dismissed that idea as internet gossip. After all, rap beefs are usually loud, messy, and very public. Artists go back and forth on tracks, fans pick sides, and eventually the drama fades away when the next controversy takes over. But the whispers around this situation sounded different. People inside the industry began hinting that 50 Cent had been paying attention to the Harris family for years, quietly watching every headline, every allegation, every lawsuit, every controversy that popped up and disappeared again. And that is where the story starts getting uncomfortable for a lot of people. Because the truth is, the allegations surrounding T.I. and Tiny Harris did not suddenly appear in 2026. They have been floating around the internet for years. Various accusations surfaced in the past involving claims from several individuals who alleged misconduct involving the couple. Those accusations ranged from claims about parties to far more serious allegations that quickly turned into lawsuits and legal disputes. T.I. and Tiny have repeatedly denied those accusations, and many of the cases connected to those claims were eventually dismissed or dropped. Legally speaking, nothing stuck in a way that resulted in criminal convictions. But in the court of public opinion, stories like that rarely disappear completely. They linger in the background like smoke after a fire, waiting for someone to bring them back into the spotlight. And according to people who claim to know how 50 Cent operates, that lingering smoke might be exactly what he was watching, because if there is one thing the hip-hop mogul has proven over the past decade, it is that he understands media warfare better than almost anyone else in entertainment. While many rappers focus purely on music, 50 Cent quietly built an empire in television and film production. His shows turned into massive hits, his production company expanded, and suddenly the same man who once dominated rap charts was now controlling entire storylines on major networks. So when that now deleted Social media post hinted at a documentary project centered around T.I. and Tiny. INDUSTRY insiders immediately took it seriously. The title, circulating in whispers, was enough to send shockwaves through hip-hop blogs. Surviving T.I. and Tiny. The phrase sounded eerily familiar to viewers who remembered how other high-profile documentary series had completely reshaped the public image of major celebrities. The formula was simple but devastating. Gather interviews, compile allegations, bring forward people who claim they were harmed, and present the entire story as an investigative timeline. Whether the accusations were proven in court often mattered less than the emotional impact those documentaries created, and that is exactly why this situation suddenly started making people nervous, because if 50 Cent actually moved forward with a project like that, it would shift the battlefield away from Instagram posts and rap lyrics into something far more powerful. A documentary streaming across millions of screens would not disappear after a week. It would stay online, recommended by algorithms, resurfacing every time someone searched for T.I.'s name. That possibility is what sparked the next wave of rumors. According to several anonymous industry sources quoted by gossip blogs, conversations about the documentary had already begun quietly with producers and potential distributors. One source claimed that preliminary interviews had been discussed with individuals who said they had stories about the Harris family, dating back more than a decade. Another alleged insider claimed that a small team connected to 50 Cent's production network had started gathering publicly available court records and archived news stories connected to the allegations that surfaced years earlier. Again, none of this was officially confirmed. No network publicly announced a project. No streaming platform released a trailer or statement, but the rumors spread fast enough to change the entire energy of the feud. Suddenly, fans weren't just arguing about diss tracks anymore. They were asking a completely different question. What if this documentary actually happens? Because if it did, the consequences would reach far beyond the typical boundaries of hip-hop beef. It would drag old controversies back into the spotlight at the exact moment T.I. was trying to close out his career on a high note, and that timing might not be a coincidence, right? Now, T.I. has been promoting what he calls his final album, a project he described as his last major body of work before stepping away from rap. The album rollout was supposed to be a celebration of his legacy. Interviews, performances, press appearances, and a victory lap after decades in the industry. But if a documentary suddenly appeared revisiting allegations tied to his past, that entire narrative could shift overnight. Instead of celebrating a career, the media conversation would immediately pivot toward controversy. And if you think that possibility hasn't crossed the Harris family's mind, think again, because while all of these rumors were circulating online, something very noticeable happened on social media. The Harris camp, which had been extremely vocal during the earlier stages of the feud, started slowing down. The diss tracks stopped appearing as frequently. The live streams disappeared. The constant back and forth posts that once fueled the drama started fading away. Fans noticed the change almost immediately. Just weeks earlier, King Harris had been one of the loudest voices in the conflict. He had posted alleged documents, released music aimed at 50 Cent, and publicly defended his parents with aggressive energy. But now, suddenly, the noise was gone. That silence sparked a new wave of speculation across hip-hop forums and gossip channels. Some people believe the Harris family's legal team had stepped in and advised them to stop escalating the situation publicly. Others believe something much more interesting was happening behind closed doors, according to one rumor that began circulating through entertainment blogs. Someone connected to the Harris camp had quietly attempted to reach out to 50 Cent to de-escalate the situation before things went any further. The claim suggested that the message was simple: if the documentary was real, it needed to stop. Or at the very least, the leaks needed to stop. Now, whether that story is true remains impossible to confirm. No direct evidence has surfaced proving that King Harris personally contacted 50 Cent with such a request. Neither side has publicly acknowledged any private conversations, but the rumor spread quickly because it seemed to fit the sudden shift in behavior people were witnessing online. For weeks, the Harris camp had been aggressive and confrontational. Then the documentary rumors appeared, and suddenly everything went quiet. Meanwhile, on the other side of the feud, 50 Cent appeared completely unfazed. In fact, some observers say he seemed almost amused by the chaos. Instead of releasing a diss track or engaging in long arguments online, he continued doing exactly what he had been doing since the beginning. Posting cryptic captions, dropping subtle hints, sharing memes that reference the situation without ever fully explaining what was happening behind the scenes. It was the same strategy he had used countless times before. Let everyone else argue loudly while he quietly sets the next move in motion. And if the rumors are even partially accurate, that next move could be the most devastating play he has ever used in a personal feud, because a diss track can embarrass someone. For a few weeks, a viral meme might dominate the internet for a few days, but a documentary series built around controversy, allegations, and dramatic storytelling can reshape how millions of people view a celebrity forever, and that possibility is exactly why the tension surrounding this story keeps growing. The hip-hop world is now watching two completely different strategies unfold at the same time. On one side is T.I., a veteran rapper promoting what he calls his final album while trying to maintain control over the narrative of his legacy. On the other side is 50 Cent, a media mogul with the resources and connections to turn controversy into full-scale entertainment content. If those two worlds collide, the result could be explosive. The result could be explosive. Because if cameras start rolling and interviews begin airing, this feud will stop being a rap battle and turn into something much bigger. And according to several industry observers, the most dangerous part of the situation is that nobody truly knows how much material 50 Cent might already have collected. The man has built an entire reputation around patience. He trolls, he jokes, he pretends not to care. Then suddenly, months or years later, something appears that proves he was paying attention the entire time. Which brings us to the question that many fans are now asking: what exactly does 50 Cent know? And how long has he been preparing to use it? Because if the rumors about this documentary are even remotely accurate, the Harris family might be facing a storm that cannot be stopped with a diss track or a social media post. And if someone really did reach out asking for the leaks to stop, it suggests one thing very clearly: whatever might be inside the documentary could be far more damaging than anyone expected. And if someone really did reach out asking for the leaks to stop, it suggests one thing very clearly: whatever might be inside the documentary could be far more damaging than anyone expected. Because the moment the rumor about the project started circulating, the conversation across the hip-hop world shifted instantly. Fans weren't debating who won the diss tracks anymore. They weren't arguing about versus battles or catalog comparisons. Instead, everyone started asking the same question: what exactly does 50 Cent have? And more importantly, how much of it is real? For people who have followed Curtis Jackson's career closely, this moment feels strangely familiar. Over the years, he has built a reputation for playing the long game. He rarely rushes into battles the way other artists do. Instead, he waits, observes, trolls a little bit, and then when everyone thinks the situation is over, he shows up with something much bigger than anyone expected. That pattern is exactly why the documentary rumors started making industry insiders nervous, because 50 Cent has already proven he understands the power of storytelling on a massive scale. His television projects have dominated ratings. His production company has expanded across multiple networks, and he has spent the last decade quietly transforming himself from a rapper into one of the most influential media figures in entertainment. That means if he really wanted to turn a personal feud into a documentary series, he actually has the connections to make it happen, and that possibility is what changed the entire tone of this conflict. Suddenly, the Harris family wasn't just dealing with an internet troll or a rival rapper throwing insults online. They were potentially facing someone with the ability to package controversy into a full narrative that millions of viewers could binge in a single weekend. The danger of that kind of exposure is difficult to overstate, because when a story moves from social media into long-form documentary storytelling, the rules change completely. Online arguments disappear quickly. Posts get deleted. Memes fade away when the next trend arrives, but a documentary sits on a platform forever. Every time someone searches a celebrity's name, it pops up again. New audiences discover it years later. Clips get reposted, discussed, debated, and analyzed all over again. That permanence is what makes projects like this so powerful. And if the rumored title really is Surviving T.I. and Tiny, then the message behind it is already clear. The format suggests interviews, accusations, timelines, and dramatic storytelling designed to keep viewers hooked. Episode after episode, whether those allegations were previously dismissed in court would almost become secondary. Once the documentary narrative takes over, public opinion does not always follow the same rules as legal proceedings, and that reality is why some people believe the Harris camp may be trying to slow the situation down before it reaches the point of no return. But there is another factor making the situation even more complicated. Timing. Right now, T.I. is preparing what he has repeatedly described as the final chapter of his music career. The Atlanta rapper has spent months promoting the idea that his upcoming album represents a closing statement after decades in the game. Interviews have focused on his legacy, his influence on Southern hip-hop, and the long list of artists who came after him. For many fans, this moment was supposed to be a victory lap, but controversy has a way of rewriting narratives. Overnight, if a documentary suddenly appears revisiting allegations tied to the Harris family at the exact moment T.I. is attempting to celebrate his career, the story surrounding his retirement could change instantly. Instead of headlines about his legacy, the media would shift toward the accusations being discussed in the series. Instead of music reviews, there would be debates about the claims presented on screen. That shift in conversation could overshadow everything else. Which brings us back to King Harris. For weeks he had been the loudest voice defending his parents online. He released diss tracks, posted screenshots, and attacked 50 Cent directly in public. He appeared determined to fight the battle head-on, but then the documentary rumors appeared, and suddenly his presence online became much quieter. Now, silence on social media does not always mean anything dramatic. People step away from the internet all the time. But in the middle of a feud that had been so loud and chaotic, the sudden calm caught people's attention immediately. Some fans believe the Harris family simply realized the situation was spiraling out of control and decided to step back before things got worse. Others think the silence might signal that conversations are happening privately behind the scenes. And then there are the more dramatic theories. According to several gossip blogs and unnamed sources, there are whispers that King Harris may have tried to communicate with 50 Cent directly or through intermediaries to ease the tension surrounding the documentary. Again, there is no confirmed evidence proving such a conversation happened, but the rumor refuses to disappear because it fits the moment so perfectly. The same young man who had been aggressively challenging 50 Cent in public might now be realizing that the battlefield has shifted into territory where diss tracks no longer matter, because you cannot rap your way out of a documentary series. You cannot respond to hours of interviews, archival footage, and investigative storytelling with a 3-minute song. Once a project like that is released, the narrative becomes much harder to control. And if 50 Cent really does possess years of archived material, public records, and interviews with people willing to speak on camera, the Harris family could find themselves dealing with a storm that lasts far longer than a typical rap beef. Meanwhile, 50 Cent himself appears completely comfortable letting the rumors grow. Instead of confirming or denying the documentary directly, he continues doing exactly what he has done since the beginning of this feud. Posting cryptic jokes, sharing memes that hint at something bigger, dropping small clues that keep the internet guessing without ever revealing the full picture. For someone who has mastered the art of psychological warfare in entertainment, this approach makes perfect sense. The uncertainty alone keeps everyone talking, and every day that the conversation continues, the story grows bigger. Fans debate whether the documentary is real. Bloggers write new theories about what might be inside it. Comment sections fill with arguments about who is telling the truth. All the while, the two men at the center of the storm appear to be standing on completely different pathlefields, promoting his music and defending his reputation publicly. 50 Cent is quietly reminding everyone that his influence extends far beyond the recording booth. That difference in strategy might ultimately determine how this entire saga ends, because if the documentary never appears, the Harris family could eventually claim victory, arguing that the entire threat was just another trolling tactic designed to generate headlines. But if even one episode of that project reaches the public, the conversation will instantly shift again, and this time it won't be happening on Instagram. It will be happening across television screens and streaming platforms. Everywhere. That possibility is why the tension surrounding this story continues to grow every day. Hip-hop has seen countless rivalries over the years. Diss tracks, insults, and public feuds are practically part of the culture. Most of them burn hot for a few weeks and then fade away, but every once in a while, a conflict appears that evolves into something far more unpredictable, right? Now this one is standing right on that edge. On one side, you have a legendary rapper trying to close out his career on his own terms. On the other side, you have a media powerhouse who understands exactly how powerful storytelling can be when it reaches millions of viewers. And somewhere in the middle is a younger voice, King Harris, who may have started this battle with the confidence of someone defending his family, but could now be realizing just how big the consequences might become, because if the rumors are true and that documentary is real, this feud is no longer just about music. It is about reputation. Legacy. And the possibility that a single project could reshape how an entire generation remembers one of hip-hop's most controversial families. So now the question everyone in the hip-hop world is asking is simple: what actually happens next? Because if this story has proven anything, it is that nothing about this feud has played out the way people expected. What started as a simple versus challenge between T.I. and 50 Cent somehow turned into one of the most unpredictable